The water regulator, Ofwat, has announced how much water bills in England and Wales could rise over the next 5 years.
Now, Peter's been taking a look at this since that news came out earlier this morning. What can you tell us?
Yes, and we've had quite an interesting response from the water industry because it's not quite as much as they wanted, so I'll bring you that in a second. The regulator says these bill increases represent a record investment to deliver cleaner rivers and seas, new reservoirs, fewer leaks. Campaigners say the wrong people are footing the bill. So just a reminder what's going on here. Last year, all the water companies in England and Wales put together their business plans for the next 5 years, including higher bills. Now, today, the industry regulator Ofwat has given its verdict. Remember, water charges work slightly differently in Scotland and Northern Ireland. The headline figure, well, that is that bills are due to go up by 21% over the next 5 years on average. That works out at an extra £94 over 5 years. Now, that is actually less than the water companies wanted. Ofwat saying customers will not now be paying twice for certain investments. Each company will bring in different bill changes. The highest is Southern Water. There, the increase is more than 43%. They actually wanted this figure, this £603 figure, to be over £720. Much smaller increases in other regions of the country. Now, Water UK, representing the suppliers, not impressed with Ofwat's decision today to limit these planned increases, calling it a mistake. They say it will block housing and slow the recovery of our rivers. Perhaps that suggests they may well lobby for more, which they can do before a final decision comes in December. The government has today said it will get tougher on polluting firms. But Naga and Charlie, will that be enough to satisfy struggling bill payers and, of course, campaigners who want a lot more changes?
Well, we can talk to a campaigner now. Peter, thanks so much. Let's talk to Feargal Sharkey, who has been very vocal and active when it comes to the quality of water that we have and prices. Feargal, good to have you with us on the programme. What do you make of this latest determination?
Morning. It is yet another extraordinary moment in the evolution of the water industry. Whilst today was a decision about the future of water companies, it was also a referendum about Ofwat's future, and it's failed. Simple truth is, as has now been indicated, in real terms, Southern Water customers can expect to pay 58% more for the water over the next 5 years. Yorkshire Water 37%, Thames Water 33%. Ofwat has again exercised its inability to understand or have empathy for customers and the level of anger, frustration at what they've been subjected to.
Well, Ofwat has actually, even though, yes, you're absolutely right, there are rises and those figures are pretty much the ballpark of how much bills are going to be rising over the next 5 years. Ofwat has limited those rises and taken the balance of, well, more investment needs to be made into the infrastructure by our water companies, by our utility companies.
I think when you put it into context, bearing in mind Southern Water, for example, applied for a 91% increase and they've limited it to 58% in real terms. I see that as an exercise in greenwashing, as an exercise in PR. And let me remind viewers, this is a service you have already paid for. Ofwat and the water companies agree. We already paid for them to build a properly functioning sewage system. We didn't get that service. What we should be asking for, not a penny more. And where's our money gone? We want a refund. Customers should be appalled by this nonsense.
Fergal, good morning to you. It's Charlie here in the studio. A lot of people are listening to this who will be paying
morning,
the
Charlie.
extra. Good morning. The extra that will be on their bills may well agree with you about this. But there's a phrase, isn't there? We are where we are. Those companies are in place. So given what currently exists, surely it is the right thing for people to have to pay more in their bills. Clearly, they won't want to do that in order that money can be put into the system to make it better.
Charlie, I cannot think of a single reason why anybody would want to pay twice for a service they didn't get the first time around. And let me remind you all, I'm given to understand a company like Thames Water, there has not been a single year where shareholders have not taken more money out of the company than they ever put in. If somebody has to spend money right now, it should be the shareholders are held accountable for this. That's why Ofwat has failed, and that's why now I'm seriously thinking we need to now just take to the streets. I've toured the country for 6 weeks now. Government and Ofwat needs to understand the level of anger, frustration and outrage. We've been exploited, we've been fleeced. It stops, and it stops here, and it stops today.
And you have made your feelings very clear, both today and in the past, Feargal. When you say take to the streets, what do you mean?
I'm going to go home. I genuinely now so utterly furious at this. Ofwat and the Environment Agency, government needs to conduct an urgent root and branch review of the regulatory system. I think Ofwat needs utter restructuring, if not abolishing. And I think to send that message, but I'll have more to say about it later on today, I think bill payers need to take to the streets in Whitehall to demonstrate to Ofwat we've had enough of the greed, we've had enough of the exploitation, we've had enough of customers being fleeced, we've had enough of sewage being dumped into our rivers and onto our beaches. It ends, and it needs to end today. That is the decision that Ofwat should have made.
Feargal, Sharkey, campaigner, thank you very much for your time with us here on Breakfast, reacting to these draft determinations on what water companies can charge over the next 5 years.